was from June 25, 1950 to July 27, 1953. At the end of World War II, Korea was free from Japanese control, but by 1948, Korea was divided in half at the 38th parallel, with the capital South ruled by Syngman Rhee and the communist North by Kim Il-sung. North Korea was occupied by the Soviets while the South was occupied by American forces. North and South Korea could not accept the border between them as permanent, so it began. North Koreans attacked South Korea on June 25, 1950, advancing across the 38th parallel. This was a problem because President Truman in the United States wanted to contain the spread of communism by preventing the domino effect. That was the theory that if Soviet communism was able to spread into one single country, then it had the potential to spread to all the other surrounding countries. Fighting continued on and on, so after multiple attacks and victories from the north side, South Korea finally gained forces to attack back. And approval was granted for a UN army made of international forces of 60 nations to send help to South Korea, and soon on October 7, 1950, UN troops were able to move into North Korea. On July 1951, peace talks began, but a compromise could not be found. Meanwhile, both sides still kept fighting. So then in early 1953, General Dwight Eisenhower took over as president and tried putting an end to the war. It was only then that an armistice was formed and signed on July 27, 1953. The 38th parallel still divides the two Koreas up to this day, serving as a demilitarized zone. 36,000 U.S. troops were killed and over 100,000 wounded. 620,000 from North and South Korea were killed and 1.6 civilians lost their lives.
MASH, or Mobile Army Surgical Hospital, is recognized as a major advancement in military medicine. They became medical units serving as hospitals. The goal of this powerful tool was to do surgical care as close as to the battlefield. It all began on August 23, 1945, but 3 years later, there was a facility with 14 physicians, 12 nurses, 2 medical service corps, 1 warrant officer, and 97 that enlisted. Eventually, the Korean War drafted doctors and more medical personnel. Also, the Mobile Army Surgical Hospital's equipment consisted of 60 to 100 beds, but later expanded to 200 to 600 beds. One of the doctors who was drafted said the following statement: 72 hours after I had arrived at MASH 8076, I had lost the sense of feeling in my feet. I do not think I had spoken to anyone for at least 12 hours. The way it functioned was by loading equipment onto the vehicles and leaving on a 6-hour notice. Once it had arrived at the battleground destination, it had to be operating for at least 4 hours. Even though there were many casualties, with the help of MASH, work got done, death rate dropped by 50%, and the medical system was more organized. Normally, aircrafts have a purpose of attacking the opponent, but in the Korean War, that was not the case. Aircrafts were later on to be known as medical transportation. Raymond W. Bliss came up with the idea that Koreans should have their own air ambulance helicopters. Army units would be the one at the front line evacuations, while the Air Force carried the wounded off the battlegrounds. Once the soldiers were in the air, they were given quote-unquote plastic bags and sleeping bags, flexible tubes that were fitted from the engine to heat the patients in flight. In addition, the helicopters had a machine that would provide plasma for the injured soldiers. Army and Air Force helicopters evacuated approximately 18,000 patients with the innovation of air medicine. It helped save many, and even today, helicopters are still used in crucial emergencies.
Some of the procedures the doctors took advantage in were vascular reconstruction, use of kidneys, and frostbite. A challenge during the war was blood. There was no place where doctors could access blood for surgeries or other sort of treatment. Thanks to the Blood Derivative Committee in the Department of Defense, on July 7, Korea was able to access blood. Luckily enough, the staff had proper equipment to do transfusions, and donors were ready to help out. Blood was really valued in the military. They used plastic bags for storage, shipping, and to administer. They used to be stored in plastic bottles, which unfortunately sometimes had to be thrown away because of hemolysis.